Hey, now that you have a little bit more time to cook, why not start perfecting your skills on the methods that take a little bit more time? These are the cooking methods that you've long ignored because you just don't have the time. Until now. Because these are the Days to Braise. Today on the Carefree Cooks Code. I'm Chef Todd Moore, and this is the Carefree Cooks Code, every Tuesday live at noon Eastern. Here's our challenge. How can home cooks cook freely with creativity, confidence, and pride while ignoring recipes and still impressing themselves and others with what they cook? Well, the answer is found in becoming empowered with how cooking works, using dependable and repeatable methods of cooking that work for any ingredient, for any diet, and any desire, just like chefs do. And we'll know we've cracked it when everyone sees cooking as an exciting and rewarding way to improve their relationships, their lifestyles, and their health through better food and cooking. This is the Carefree Cooks Code. Hey, welcome back to the Carefree Cooks Code, everyone. This is the weekly show for the methods, the techniques, the insights into better food and cooking. And we're live every Tuesday at noon Eastern. You can find most of the past videos at facebook.com/chef.todd.more/videos. And here's our weekly schedule. We're together live on Tuesdays at noon. First Wednesday of every month is the private Carefree Cooks study hall for lifetime members of web cooking classes, and we casually cook together Saturdays at noon. If you want to see what I'm cooking when we're not together live, go to instagram.com/Chef Todd Moore. These are the oysters from Saturday. Did you see that live on Saturday? It's crazy. I'm here at my new location, and the first thing I did was cook oysters. If you haven't, go to Instagram and you can get the link to the full video. I know that seems roundabout, but anyway, how do I cook this way? Oh my goodness, you know the answer by now, because I'm a carefree cook. I create my own recipes. This brings friends and family together. I learn every time I cook. I create my own cooking style because I practice pro methods. I wind up loving my cooking. Hey, welcome everyone to the northern neck of Virginia. I have not had time to hang any art or anything, so you're going to have to deal with a blank wall today, but eventually we'll have a cool background for you. It's been more than a year. I'm glad that I finally escaped the city. My beloved downtown Baltimore, M-O-H-R is how I spell it. I went there to teach at my alma mater. I was invited to go teach at the culinary school that I graduated from in 2011, and boy, have things changed. And now it's been more than a year since the entire world shut down. And we've been together that entire time. I mean, if you look back on the past year, look all the way to March 13th, 2020, we were together. And if you can remember the 140 or so casual cooking segments we did from my apartment in downtown Baltimore, then you know how we've been together. And I'm confident that you've learned at least one thing over the past year that made your cooking better or easier or quicker or healthier or more prideful for you. That's the thing I want to do. And I'm confident that this happened over 140 Saturdays and Thursdays and Wednesdays and Tuesdays because nobody teaches the things that I do to home cooks. These are all the things we talk about. These are all the things that are discussed in culinary school. Certainly, snotty chef, not with the general public. Oh my God, we do not share it with them. And snotty chefs all over the world are shocked when I teach you what I teach in culinary school. But now that we've all had a year inside, learning new hobbies and binge watching television, we realized that maybe we got a bit more free time than we thought we had beforehand, right? Why were we in such a rush? A year ago, more than a year ago, why was everything so rushed? But now you found some extra time. I found some extra time. And I wanted to cook something really moist, really flavorful, really deep, dark gravy kind of thing. Use a cooking method that would help me take tough cuts of meat and turn them into fork-tender morsels. Then the past 365 days, if I can do that, may have been the Days to Braise. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, I've got a what am I for you today. There it is. It is a braised lamb shank. It says right there, the words, braised lamb shank. What's that called? Tell me in the comment section below, what am I? Don't write braised lamb shank. That's obvious. What is a braised lamb shank, since today is the Days to Braise? Okay, look, a year later, we're sitting pretty, aren't we? I mean, don't you think? Carefree cooks, have fared very well in an environment where restaurants were closing. There's been a lot of uncertainty. There was a lot of fear surrounding delivery and takeout foods, fear surrounding foods a year ago. But we didn't have to worry about any of this because over the past 12 months, we focused on the dependable and repeatable methods of cooking that is now creating the best food that we've ever had, right? Are you with me? Whether it's a restaurant or not, whether the restaurants are open or not, it doesn't affect me anymore. And aren't the results amazing when you focus on how to cook? Not what you're cooking, not the steps that are written in a book, how to cook, using the reliable steps, the methods in cooking. And if you do what I try and compel you to do, if you use a method, then ask yourself what you did well and what you could do better. Then you say, do this. Next time I will, and fill in the blank. Okay, these are very, very important. This is a big key to the way I teach. What I did well, what I can do better next time I will, and fill in the blank, because that means you're paying attention. That means you're learning and making a statement out loud. You are way more likely to fulfill it. And that's how you actually learn when you cook, how you actually improve when you cook. Otherwise, you wind up just looking for another recipe. This recipe didn't work. Let me look for another one. But when you use methods, when you think about what I did well, what I did better, next time I will, then your results are consistently amazing and you don't need restaurants or takeout ever again. Look, I'm not trying to gloat. Even though that looks like I'm trying to gloat. That picture was taken many years ago. I was probably gloating about something else. Okay, so I was gloating in this picture, but I'm not gloating now. That's just unseemly. I think that's what I do when my wings are ready. That's the wing dance, when my wings come out of the oven. But look, I want to help everyone improve their health, their relationships, and their lifestyle through better food and cooking. But if you've been watching any of the food TV shows lately, which I normally don't do, I stay away from that, you're starting to see everyone come over to our way of thinking now. It's incredible. Is Gordon Ramsay yelling at children now? I mean, is it that adults aren't afraid of him anymore? He's yelled at every adult and he has to move on to scaring children out of cooking? Because that's what this guy does. He scares people out of cooking. You miserable fourth grader. Oh, are you going to cry to your mommy? The guy. I mean, I've been teaching that dependable methods of cooking bring out confidence. They bring out creativity. I've been doing this since 2008, way before any of these celebrity chefs discovered what YouTube was. And today's challenges are pushing all the celebrity chefs over to our way of thinking. It's incredible. They're starting to say food is comfort, especially in tough times. Doesn't have to be fancy. They're saying this now. Comfort. Comfort is important. And cooking is comfort to me. Helping others with their cooking is comfort to me. And instead of making food as a competition show, forgetting that their cooking, this guy too, their cooking has been all about entertainment, okay? Competition, elimination, yelling at people. This is what they've been doing for years. All of these celebrity chefs now, they are changing their recipes. I mean, I listened to Bobby Flay recently read an essay on CBS Sunday Morning about how he's cooking more simply. He's looking for more comfort food. This doesn't sound like the master chef, right? He starts this essay with, I'll quote, Today I'm talking to you not as the high-flying, battle-till-you-burn-down-the-building Iron Chef that you see on Food Network, but as the father of a young professional just starting her career. A lot softer for Bobby Flay, for the burn-down-the-building guy, right? He goes on to say about chefs, firing up the stove is our comfort zone. And if we ever needed comfort, it's now. Oh my goodness, I agree with Bobby Flay. I never thought the day would come I finally agree with Bobby Flay, and it only took a worldwide pandemic for that to happen. Yeah, Bobby, I agree. Comfort is important if it's good to you, right? The advice that I have heard all year long since this started from these TV chefs is now that simpler is better. Comfort is most important, and I really like that message. Finally. I finally like the message that the food TV is starting to send out. But whatever happened to the dandelion mash, frisee salad with pomegranate lychee fruit vinaigrette that you wanted me to make last year? It wasn't simple. Who makes a pomegranate lychee fruit vinaigrette? I mean, my goodness. Now it's all about pantry cooking, and that's where it winds up being about whipping up great meals from what you already have on hand instead of letting a recipe or a celebrity chef tell you what to go out and buy, okay? So this is a big shift for them in a short amount of time. Now, all these celebrity chefs are on YouTube. They're all doing Facebook Lives. They're all cooking from their home kitchens now with the advice that any cooking is good cooking now. The advice that it doesn't have to be fancy. This is like blowing my mind that you don't, it doesn't have to be overproduced or highly entertaining. Put down the cat, Bobby. It hasn't gotten that bad yet. Did you run out of mash and frisee salad with lychee fruit pie? I don't know where Bobby's head is anywhere. I'm here for you though, brother. We'll get through this together without a food competition. Bobby doesn't know what to do, but it's okay. He'll be back to burning down the kitchen type cooking competition show soon. That's just what people dig. Just put down the cat, Bobby, will you? Comfort, confidence, right? Pride are the keys to cooking. Who says these things? Maybe this guy? Comfort, confidence, pride. Now, these people are all saying that, also a totally different message than they were saying a year ago. Now they're starting to say things like, it's not what you cook, it's how you cook it. Where have I heard that since 2008? The entire food media population is now stepping down from their high pedestals, and they're starting to say, if it's good to you, then it's good. Geez, who's been saying that for a decade? And they might even start saying it doesn't have to be fine cooking. It could be cooking coarse, if they get the pun. And if this is really the case, if all this media, all this food media is starting to say that the cooking that is good to you is the best cooking, in my book, they're 13 years too late. I've been saying this since 2008, but that's not what I came to talk to you about today. We're here together today to talk about the low and the slow. Because now that all these celebrity chefs are coming our way, all the cooking is comfort cooking. Now that we have more time to cook and have developed a little bit more patience in our cooking, let's start to use these non-fancy, you don't see braising on a food TV show. You never do. It's not sexy. It's not fancy. Flambe, flame on, lots of rattling around and cursing and competition. That's what you see. I want to teach you the boring but excellent method of braising, because braising and stewing, these indirect, long, low, slow methods, they yield different results than the quicker cooking methods. And there are so many advantages to cooking this way. And that's why these are
the Days To Braise.
Braising and stewing is what I want to talk about today. They're combination cooking methods that use both dry heat and moist heat. And in both of these methods, The first step is usually to brown the main item using dry heat. The second step is to simmer the food in a liquid. It can be that simple. Combination cooking methods are often used for less tender but very flavorful cuts of meat. But not only. You could use it for poultry and vegetables. It's a cooking method that allows you to use any ingredient you want, like a lot of the methods. But there's a common mistaken belief here, one that even I've perpetuated. I'll admit, I've been wrong, that braising and stewing is only meant for tough cuts of meat. That's not the case. Braised poultry. Were you there for Coq au vin a few weeks ago, live from my kitchen in Baltimore? That's a braised poultry dish. Braised duck, even braised vegetables. Vegetables don't need any tenderization. So braising and stewing are combination cooking methods because they use both this dry, direct, conductive heat and the moist, indirect, convective heat. But the real difference between braising and stewing is the amount of liquid that's used. So braising and stewing are great cooking methods once you have the time because they can, number one, tenderize tough cuts of meat, like I talked about. They add such a pronounced flavor that you can't get in a saute pan because of the long, low, slow, gentle cooking times that you don't get on the grill, broiler, or saute. Also, like I said, they cook everything at once. Like our Coq au vin had all the vegetables, all the meat, all the sauce in one pan. It's a great one-pan way to cook. And like I mentioned, it makes its own sauce. So you don't need another pan to make a sauce. It really is one of those kind of set it and forget it type cooking methods. One of the few that you can actually walk away from. I tell people don't ever walk away from your cooking. If you're braising, you can't sit around the kitchen for 5 or 6 hours, right? So, I really hate to put it this way, but I want you to understand it's kind of like a crock pot, all right? If you don't have a crock pot. And even if you do have a crock pot, keep it in the cabinet and braise, okay? I don't own the lazy cooker, so I really couldn't even say how they work. I don't know. All right, but let's cover what I came to talk about. Here's the procedure now for braising. The first thing you want to do, take notes and screenshots if you want, cut, trim, prep the food to be braised. Now's the time to use your boning knife to remove any fat, use any elastin, any connective tissue that is not going to cook away. Now, remember that the white fat, the soft white fat, will render in the cooking process, but then you kind of get a greasier gravy in the bottom. The shiny, thin covering, the silver skin will not render. It needs to be removed with your knife. No matter how much you cook, no matter how much acid, no matter how much moisture, elastin will not cook away. You can dredge the item in flour if you want. That'll start your thickening agent for the sauce, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. Secondly, heat your pan. Then add some of the fat until it gets hot and starts to striate. Cold fat is smooth. Hot fat striates like legs on a wine glass. Swish your wine glass around, you see the legs run down the side. And here's another difference between braising and stewing. In braising, you want as much contact with the heat as possible without submerging the item. A braising pan is much wider in diameter with shorter sides. Braising has kind of like a steaming element to it. The item isn't totally submerged in liquid. There's a head space. There's a gap between the top of the liquid and the top of the pan that allows flavorful steam to circulate in the pan. But with stewing, the food is supposed to be cooked entirely by moist convective heat, by simmering or poaching, letting the moisture then evaporate. And that's why a stewing pan is more like a saucepan. Narrower bottom, longer, straighter sides, higher sides, because you're going to fill it up with a lot more liquid and you want the food to be totally submerged to stew, but not to braise. A braising pan in the commercial kitchen is called a rondeau. You see one in the opening of Carefree Cook's Code every Tuesday when I say cook like a chef at home and the guy is stirring in that huge pan. That's a rondeau. We're about to braise those things. Step 3 is brown the food. Brown the food on all sides with conductive heat. And this is where you'll get the pan nice and hot like you're about to saute. Whether you're braising or stewing, these steps are the same, okay? The amount of liquid, again, is the only difference. You might choose to remove the meat from the pan and return it later or not. But the important thing about browning the meat is it has to be dry. If you remember the 4 effects of heat on food, caramelization of sugars, 320 degrees Fahrenheit, 160 degrees Celsius, will not occur if you have evaporation of moisture. If the item is wet, it will steam, it won't brown. So pat all items dry before you do that. Number 4, saute all the other ingredients in the rendered fond. Are you using onions, carrot, celery, daikon, parsnips, lotus root, any other hearty root vegetable? Now is the time to subject them to the direct conductive heat. And remember also, match your knife skills to the cooking method as well. These days to braise are not the days to use the little tiny brunoise cuts that you'd put in a chicken salad, right? They will disintegrate. This is where you're going to use medium or large dice cuts of things because they're going to be tender. They're going to be fork-sized by the time they're done cooking. Step 5, you can add some flour here if you want, or the thickening agent that is appropriate for your diet if you're gluten-free. You could create a pan roux. You could spoon a previously made roux on there. You could thicken with cornstarch slurry or arrowroot, all those things. Or you could delay your thickening for a few more steps and immediately deglaze the pan with a flavorful liquid. Let that evaporate until it's almost dry. And if you're cooking red meats or game, I do recommend a red wine. And I can't go in, I know you're going to ask me what brand or what type. I can't go into that right now. If you're cooking with poultry or vegetables, I'd still recommend red wine, but you might want to cook with white wine if you're doing that. If you don't drink wine or alcohol, you can braise in broths. You can braise in chicken broth or vegetable broth. I like brandies, cognac, port. You see me use sherry a lot. Something that will complement the flavor of the dish without overpowering it is what you deglaze with. But remember, you deglaze with that liquid and evaporate it. You don't make a sauce out of wine. This is a big misconception. All right. The other thing to remember in braising is that the sauce is going to reduce and intensify over 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours of cooking. So remember, if your wine tastes bad in the glass, right? Oh, that wine went bad. We'll use it for cooking. Oh my goodness, no. If it tastes bad in the glass, it's going to be 5 times as bad when it's been reduced and intensified, right? You then, it's just don't use bad wine, okay? Use broths instead. Then you let the wine reduce in the pan until the pan is almost dry. We call this au sec in French culinary. Reduce au sec. You may hear me say that a lot. Deglaze and let the wine go away. And now is the time to add your cooking liquid. And it's probably a beef or chicken or vegetable broth, mushroom broth, something like that. This is the basis to your gravy, okay? Not the wine. If you're braising, again, the items are covered halfway with your broth or stock, leaving head space for steam. If you're stewing, the ingredients are covered entirely in this broth. You're going to want to leave the lid off, let it reduce and evaporate. Lid on braising, lid off stewing. But one of the keys to braising is having an acidic ingredient because acids break down connective tissues in meats. So this tenderizing effect is what you're looking for when you're taking tough cuts of meat and braising them. Tomatoes, tomato paste, citrus juices, flavored vinegars, acidic condiments, all of these can be added to the cooking liquid to achieve this effect. And if you made a roux in the previous step, the liquid will then start to thicken, and now you get that gravy coming together, and it's going to take hours to get. My mouth is watering to that flavor that you want. But if you skip the roux part, then now is the time to add your thickening agent to the cooking liquid as it heats up and reaches that temperature. One of the 4 effects of heat on food: gelatinization of starches at 150 degrees Fahrenheit or 65 degrees Celsius. That's what we want. Or again, decide to further delay your thickening, and at the very end, you can take advantage of a previously made roux or a tomato paste or a pureed item. If you removed the meat from the pan before, then put it back in now and cook in a moist convective method, which is going to add flavor and tenderize. Last thing we want to do, cover the pan. I know that there's a lot of debate about this, but I want that liquid. I don't want the liquid to evaporate. If I'm making a chili or a stew, I do want the liquid to evaporate and condense. If I'm braising, I don't. Cover the pan, bring the cooking liquid to a very soft simmer on the stovetop. Really small bubbles around the edge of the pan, not a violent boil. Then you can continue to braise or stew on the stovetop, or you can take your oven-safe pan, not with a plastic handle or anything like that, put it in about a 250 degree Fahrenheit, about 120 degrees Celsius oven for as long as you can. If it's 8 hours, great. Start it at breakfast, eat it at dinner. And also, no worries about internal temperatures with braising, right? A braised item is not going to be rare. It's not going to be unsafe after cooking for 5 hours. So the goal in braising really is to flavor and tenderize. It's that simple. And when your meat falls apart under the pressure of a fork, when your carrots are soft and flavorful, then you're done. Then you have come to the end of your days to braise. But here's the last important difference between braising and stewing. And like I said, braising lid on, stewing lid off. And the idea behind this is you want to capture the moisture and use the steam in braising, but you want to evaporate the liquid in stewing, letting it evaporate and condense as you cook. Basic rules, okay? Change them if you want, but you know what I like to say, learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. But look, again, these methods are entirely up to your interpretation. Stewing normally doesn't get a thickening agent. If you want, knock yourself out. The reduction of the stew could simply be the thickener, but I usually do put like a brown roux cube from my freezer into the stew, or I add tomato paste at the end to help tenderize and thicken. You could also remove the lid from the pan while you're braising, and that liquid may evaporate and thicken the sauce. You could, in a braised dish, puree all the vegetables. Imagine all those carrots and stuff that have been cooking so long, puree them or puree some of them, and that will thicken the sauce as well. Look, you don't have to do any of it. You don't have to do all of it. You are an empowered, carefree cook. You can do as little or as much of it as you want. But remember, there are methods. There are dependable, repeatable, reliable methods. And once you are confident in the methods, then you can change them. Then you can alter them as the ingredients that you need change, or your diet changes, or you discover something new and exciting each time you cook and you want to change it. Remember, learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. That's what Pablo Picasso said, one of my favorite quotes, as you know. To me, this is one of the most comfort-producing ways to cook. This is something that fills your house with a wonderful savory smell. You get something really flavorful that takes really very little effort to do. And, I mean, not even Bobby Flay can argue about that, right? Has anybody seen that cat? I don't know. Hey, look, when it comes to seasonings... The Days to Braise. Look, when it comes to seasonings in stewed and braised items, wait, I want to hear that music again. There we go. No music. When it comes to seasonings, I want to cover that. Stewed, be really careful. Remember, it's going to cook for a long time. Things condense, things change. If you put your seasoning in at the beginning and taste it, it's not going to taste like that. If you're using whole leaf seasonings, right, fresh herbs, don't do that in braising because they wilt. They disappear. They're gone. And like I said before, think about trying to use dry seasonings in braising, because dry seasonings, spices, are like making tea. The longer you steep the tea, the stronger the tea is, right? So if you're using dry seasonings and they cook for a long time, they're going to intensify. Keep those dry seasonings to a minimum for long cooking, and then you can always adjust for flavor at the end. Look, after a full year of keeping away from each other, after a full year of staying out of restaurant dining rooms, there are actually things that we can look back and maybe be thankful for. We could all look backward and focus on the terrible part of all this, and it has been terrible. That's the easiest thing to do. Just let your brain convince you that everything is doomed, and you should be very, very afraid. That's what your brain wants you to do. But something very powerful that I learned in 2007 from a really amazing author and speaker named T. Harv Eker is that sometimes you just shouldn't listen to your own brain. Look forward. Ignore the fear brain. Ignore the terrible memories and let your future imagination take over. Think about how we can all go through the same crisis together. And we did. We all went through the same crisis together, but we came out stronger at the end. Amazing. Now's the time to change your focus toward gratitude. Now's the time to be appreciative for what we do have and start to set our goals for the future. Let's get back to the what am I for today. A braised lamb shank. The dish is called ossobuco. Ossobuco. There's really no gray area with ossobuco. If you love ossobuco, you really love it. If you don't like it, you really hate it. Okay? So, hey, I don't know. Maybe you should get a hold of some lamb shank and try it. And then next time when it's the days to braise, you'll have something to do. Look, if you know someone who might have a little bit more time on their hands to cook lately, tell them about the Days to Braise. Share this video with them, with your friends and other people that have been shut in. Look, braising and stewing automatically make flavorful sauces, right? But if you want to figure out another way to bring 5 times more variety and 5 times more flavor into your cooking using the power of the 5 I always do that. I messed up. I gave it away again. All right. Look, mac and cheese like that. You want to make your own mac and cheese sauce? Let me say it again. 5 times more variety, 5 times more flavor into your cooking using one powerful pro kitchen practice is what I was supposed to say. I gave it away. Well, if you want to, go to webcookingclasses.com/5times to register for this week's free online class. You'll be amazed at the difference that this can make. This one powerful pro kitchen practice, the difference it can make in your cooking. So until next Tuesday at noon from the Northern Neck in Virginia, this is Chef Todd Moore reminding you that there's a method to your long, low, slow, gentle cooking success. Bye, everyone.